Have you ever felt your heart hammer against your ribs just because someone in a suit raised their voice at you? Or perhaps you found yourself suddenly blanking, unable to form a single coherent sentence the moment a person of authority enters the room. Most people dismiss this as being difficult or having a weak personality, but that is a lie designed to keep you from understanding your own biology. Today, we are stripping away the shame and looking at the raw mechanics of why your body rebels against power. We're going to deconstruct the neurological hijack of authority, explore how childhood blueprints shaped your cart reactions, and finally uncover the hidden Fawn Response that might be sabotaging your life right now. By the end of this countdown, you will understand not just why you feel triggered, but exactly what your nervous system is trying to protect you from, and it's a secret your brain has been keeping for years. Tanther, the Autonomic Hijack. When you encounter an authority figure, your brain doesn't see a manager or a judge, it sees a predator. Your autonomic nervous system immediately initiates a survival protocol specifically through the sympathetic nervous system, flooding your veins with cortisol and adrenaline. Because this system is ancient, it cannot distinguish between a modern corporate hierarchy and an immediate threat to your physical life. This isn't an emotional choice, it's a physiological takeover that prioritizes survival over logic. This means your body is literally reliving an old war, but we need to see how that war manifests differently depending on who is standing in front of you. 9. The freeze response. For some of us, the rebellion isn't loud, it's a total systemic shutdown known as freezing. You might find yourself staring at your boss while they speak, your mind going completely white or feeling like you're watching a scene from behind a pane of glass. This happens because your brain has calculated that fighting is too dangerous and fleeing is impossible, so it chooses to play dead internally. It creates an agonizing sense of paralysis, where you feel like a ghost in your own skin. But while some people freeze, others find their rebellion takes the form of externalized aggression, and that leads us to something much more volatile. AA8, the fight response. The fight response is when your nervous system decides that the safest way to handle authority is through immediate defense or aggressive pushback. This can manifest as sharp-tongued sarcasm, constant arguing over minor rules, or an explosive temper when being given instructions. Your brain perceives orders as attacks, and it triggers your muscles to tense for a confrontation that may not actually be happening on the surface. You aren't trying to be difficult. You're trying to reclaim territory from someone who feels like they've invaded your personal safety. Yet there is an even more subtle and often more damaging way our bodies react when we feel powerless, and it's something most of us are doing unconsciously every day. Horst, this is perhaps the most insidious survival mechanism: fawning. Instead of fighting or freezing, you overplease, appease, and mirror the authority figure to ensure they stay happy with you. You become the perfect employee who says yes to every extra task because your body believes that by making them satisfied, you can prevent their wrath. It is an act of extreme emotional labor where you sacrifice your own boundaries just to maintain a sense of safety in the hierarchy. If you find yourself constantly overfunctioning for others, it's not because you lack backbone. It's because your survival instinct is hijacked by an old blueprint. Let me ask you right now in the comments, do you tend to push back against authority, or do you find yourself trying to make everyone happy at your own expense? To understand why this happens so deeply, we have to look backward at where these blueprints were first drawn. 6. The childhood blueprint. Your reaction today is often just an echo of a caregiver from 20 years ago who was inconsistent, neglectful, or overtly demanding. If your early environment taught you that speaking up leads to punishment, those words became architectural rules for your personality. These are called limiting beliefs, subconscious scripts like, I am only safe if I do exactly what they say, or if I show my true self, I will be rejected. Your current trigger is actually your body trying to protect you from an old ghost that no longer exists. But sometimes, this blueprint isn't just about the past. It's about how our bodies react when we feel physically vulnerable in front of those who hold power over us. Baby. The medical authority paradox. Have you ever noticed that you can be perfectly confident with your boss but have a total emotional meltdown in a doctor's office? This is emotional flooding, the intersection of physical fear and authority dynamics. When our health is at stake, the authority wound becomes hyperactive because the stakes are literally life or death. You might become demanding to regain control, or you might shut down completely because your body feels it has no agency over its own survival. It's not that you're being difficult, it's that the authority figure represents a threat to your very existence in that moment. This highlights how our triggers aren't random. They are deeply tied to where we feel most vulnerable, and there's a specific social context that has made this much harder for everyone lately. 4. The collective stress test. In recent years, we have seen a measurable spike in distrust toward authority figures globally, particularly following the era of major public mandates and crises. These global events acted as stress tests for our underlying trauma. They forced millions into high-authority interactions that triggered ancient survival instincts simultaneously. When society feels unsafe, your internal authority wand becomes more visible and harder to manage because the external world is mirroring your internal fear. It's a public social friction point created by a private neurological injury. Your brain is reacting to a real system using old software from a past trauma. But even when we understand the why, there's still a conflict between being a rational person and having a reactive body, which brings us to one of the most controversial aspects of this wound. 23. The rebel versus the victim. There's a very thin, often blurry line between healthy boundaries and paralyzing fear, and society loves to mock the latter as entitlement. We can view these reactions through two different lenses. One sociopolitical, looking at how distrust might be a rational response to systemic oppression, and another biopsychological, which views it as an internal neurological injury. The reality is that these are distinct frameworks used to explain the same behavior. You may be reacting to a real system while simultaneously experiencing a trauma-based freeze response within your own body. Understanding this nuance is key, because if you believe your reaction is just entitlement, you will never heal the underlying nervous system dysregulation that keeps you feeling trapped. As we get closer to the core of why this happens, we have to look at what it actually costs your life when these triggers go unchecked. And there is one specific behavior that ruins more lives than any other. 2. The cost of overfunctioning. Many people who believe they are good employees or easygoing friends are actually suffering from the shadow side of authority fear, overfunctioning. You do all the work for others to prevent them from becoming angry. You anticipate their needs before they even speak, because your body is trying to pre-solve a threat it perceives in their moods. This leads to profound burnout and a total loss of selfhood, where you become a ghost serving someone else's desires just to stay safe. You aren't being helpful. You are surviving at the expense of your own identity. But there is one final reason, one that sits at the very center of everything we've discussed. The reason why this feels so impossible to just stop. Stubborn. One, the ghost in the machine. The number one reason you feel triggered by authority isn't because they are powerful. It's because your body doesn't know how to tell the difference between a memory and reality. Your nervous system is designed for survival, not for accuracy. When you feel that surge of rage or fear, it's because your brain has successfully saved an old trauma as a living threat. It isn't trying to make your life harder. It is desperately trying to keep you alive by reacting to a ghost in the machine. You are weak and you are difficult. You are simply carrying an old defense system that hasn't been updated for your current life. The twist is this. Healing isn't about trying to get over it or convincing yourself you aren't afraid. Healing is about teaching your nervous system that while the memory of the threat remains, you are currently safe. It requires moving from a state of reacting, where your body takes the wheel, to responding, where you can acknowledge the trigger and choose how to move forward with conscious power. You have to become an observer of your own biology rather than a prisoner of it. If you could change just one reaction today, whether it's saying no or standing tall in a meeting, which one would have the biggest impact on your life?